This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 153, baby. Oh yeah. In today's episode I speak to Dan the Man about, well, something a little bit different, I suppose. We actually speak about Russia because I know there are a lot of Russian people that listen to this show, and I've received lots of messages saying, why don't you speak about Russia in a show? I've also received messages saying, why don't you speak about Japan, etc. So today I thought, you know what? Let's do this shit, baby. As usual, I've just got a couple of stupid articles off the internet that we speak about, and the articles are on the website, rockandrollenglish.com, episode 153, just for proof, okay, that I'm not making this stuff up. As always, when Dan the Man's on the show, there's a nice argument to look forward to between me and Dan, and there is lots and lots of rock and roll vocabulary, which is all on the website, episode number 153. And remember, if you want to be part of the Rock and Roll English family and get a podcast every day with a transcript directly to your phone, rockandrollenglish.com/family, baby. I will speak to you all again at the end. Happy listening. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Always fantastic, Dan. Always fantastic. And boy, oh boy, do we have a fantastic podcast today. Although, as I just said that, I realised I probably should learn a new adjective.
Yeah, I think you should. Like what?
I don't know. As long as it's less than 2 syllables, I will be okay. Anyway, Dan, how do we usually start the show?
With a review.
Do you think we have a review?
Yes.
No. It's a dark time. It's a dark time.
How many weeks has it been now?
I don't know. I lose track. So when you lose track, you kind of lose the count. Yeah. It's just a dark time. The weather's a bit shit here in Sicily as well at the moment. It's just a shit time.
If someone wrote in a bad review, which let's hope they don't, but would you read that out?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I would enjoy that. I mean, I'm not saying leave bad reviews, but I would enjoy it still. But yeah, please leave nice reviews, okay, if you're going to do that. Anyway, Dan, do you know what we're talking about today?
No.
Of course you don't. Why would you? But today is a very special episode because on Thursday it is Russian Language Day. Okay, did you know about this?
Nope.
What, are you an idiot? You didn't know about Russian Language Day?
Have you prepared some Russian for us?
Oh, of course. I'm fluent in Russian. And it's apparently today because today is also the birthday, it's on Thursday, sorry, because Thursday is the birthday of Alexander Pushkin. Do you know who he is?
Unfortunately not, but then I am an idiot, so...
He's a Russian poet, Dan. I mean, how can you not know him? Everyone knows him. He's like my favourite poet.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't. I'm sorry.
And I definitely didn't just look that up on the internet before because I definitely knew that poet's name because I love poetry. Yeah,
I was going to say, I can't imagine you're the sort of... You're not the poetic type, are you?
I mean, to be fair, of all of the arts... poetry is my worst. I personally think it's a load of shit. But, I'm sure Alexander Pushkin was great. I'm sure he was great.
I remember once going to an open mic night. So that's like in a pub or a bar where, bands take their instruments and everyone starts playing. I'm not explaining this to you, Martin, just people who are listening.
Thanks, Dan. That was a shit description anyway. It's open mic. Basically, anyone can do whatever they want. Play music, sing a song, read poetry.
Well, this is the thing. Normally, it's just people just play music and it's great. And I went down there, but it happened to be National Poetry Day. So the whole event got hijacked by poets and it was just awful.
So hijacked, they kind of took over it. Anyway, so we're going to be talking a bit about Russia today, which is a bit risky because, neither of us are Russian. And I've noticed you can't really say anything bad about another place if you're not there. For example, here in Italy, I always hear Italian people moaning about Italy. So moaning, remember, complaining, saying this is terrible, public transport, this is terrible, always writing this stuff on Facebook. And a girl I know once, who is not Italian, said something like, "Oh, this country is terrible, it's a disgrace." And then there were just loads of comments basically saying, "Well, why don't you fuck off home then?"
Yeah, I guess so. But, I moan about France. But then I guess I'm living here, aren't I? So...
Oh, I never moan about Italy, Dan, because I'm not Italian. So
you moan about Italy all the time to me.
I don't. I always appreciate the good things more than the bad things. Okay, there are bad things everywhere, Dan.
But,
okay?
but I moan about England, so I think I probably moan more about England than I do France. So
that's okay. Kind of levels out then. So levels out, sort of goes to about the same, really. But anyway, we're not going to say anything bad. But it is a bit risky because we are talking about another country. But I have had lots of messages from people saying, "Why don't you speak about other countries?" So this is what we are doing. If it goes well, we can talk about some other countries. And as well, Russia is the number one country for downloads for Rock and Roll English. Did you know that?
I know that.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, so in Russia, apparently, when you go to someone's house for dinner, you have to arrive hungry. So you can't go there like having eaten a lot because you have to finish the food on the plate because otherwise it's rude. But I kind of thought, that's the same everywhere, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think in some cultures you're meant to leave a little bit. Because
Oh,
otherwise,
really?
I think so. Someone told me this. In some cultures, if you finish everything on the plate, it's a sign of you haven't had enough food.
Oh, God. Bloody hell. Oh, Jesus. I did not know that. I thought it was the same round the world of you have to finish everything on the plate. Because, I've never heard anyone say, I don't want to eat that. It tastes like shit. It's probably not a good idea to say that, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been a problem for me because if it's there, I'll eat it.
It's always a problem for me because I'm a bit of a fussy eater. So fussy eater is someone that says, I don't like that, I don't like that. So many times I've been forcing stuff down my throat.
That's much more polite.
And then the classic thing, do you like it? Oh yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. I remember at my last job, we had suppliers come across from China, and there was a big meeting, and someone said, "Do you want tea?" Now in China, they have like amazing tea. I think it's like really it's quite elegant and it's nice tea. And they said, "Yeah, we'll have tea." And someone said, "How do you want it?" And they said, "Oh, however you're having it." And the guy they were talking to was. This guy works in the warehouse. He's a bit of a geezer.
So it's like similar to lad, sort of, let's say a real man kind of thing.
Yeah, and he has his tea with half of it being milk and 4 sugars. And when it came out, I'll never forget their face. They're just looking in the tea, thinking, "What the fuck is this?"
Did they drink it though to be polite?
I can't remember if they finished it. But it was...
This is exactly how I have my tea. 50% milk with 4 sugars. Lovely jubbly. There's a nice term, actually. Very famous in England, just to say lovely. Very nice. And in Russia, apparently, there is a big drinking culture. I think this is where we're similar with British people, maybe, and Russian people. The word for Russian, for cheers, Dan, is nazorovye. Okay, perfect Russian there. Yep. But apparently beer wasn't considered an alcoholic drink in Russia until 2011.
Yeah, I heard this as well. That's crazy.
That is mental. It's just the same as water. Just have that. It's no difference.
Yeah, that is mental.
So I imagine you could have just bought that. So they obviously didn't have to wait round shops and ask people that were 18 to buy them beer like I used to do.
So isn't the sort of national drink vodka there?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. But I do remember in a bar in England there was a chain called Vodka Revolution. And once I was very drunk, and it was one of those nights where I thought, you know what? I'm just going to steal something from this place. I spend a lot of money here, so they kind of owe me something. And there was this lovely book about vodka. And then I just casually put that up my shirt. And
Did you get away with it?
Oh, yeah. So, again, did you get away with it? Did you escape without punishment? The bouncer didn't notice. So the bouncer is like the security person. And I walked out with this book and I thought, oh, I am so cool. I have just stolen a book about vodka.
I remember you told me once you were in a food shop late at night and you stole the big ketchup bottle.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And you walked out of it and a policeman came over to you and said, "Can you take that back?"
Could you imagine if I went to prison for stealing ketchup?
Oh, God, yeah.
But yeah, that is a true story. The Hellraiser was very famous for doing that as well. But yeah, going back to this book about vodka, which I still have, by the way, in England. I remember it said that in Russia, in the past, they used to drink vodka as a substitute for water because the water was dirty, so they just drank vodka.
Oh, that is hardcore, isn't it?
So yeah, hardcore, like really strong, let's say. But the thing I thought is that you would just be constantly drunk and constantly dehydrated. Could you imagine sort of, waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I'll just have a bit of water and just drinking vodka?
Does vodka dehydrate you?
Well, I think alcohol in general, no?
I don't know. I don't drink vodka, so...
Yeah, but you drink alcohol. Have you never had that thing you wake up after a night out and your mouth is like Jesus' sandal?
Yeah, but I think that's because you're drinking beer, isn't it? I don't really... Do you know what? I'm talking rubbish. Forget everything I'm saying.
Let's just move on, Dan. Let's just move on. Apparently in Moscow, some people that are really rich have bought ambulances to avoid the traffic. So then they just drive around in an ambulance.
Is that legal?
I don't know if it's legal. This is what it says on the website. And if anyone thinks, oh, look, he's just making this up. So remember, if you make something up, you're kind of inventing it. This is from a website. So if there are any problems with any of these facts, speak to the website. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. Okay.
Maybe we should do a RnR English trip to Russia.
You know what? That has been spoken about for the next family meetup. But yeah, so apparently they just drive around in an ambulance, and which I thought is a great idea to avoid the traffic. The problem is, though, if there was an emergency and someone stopped the ambulance and said, look, there's an emergency here, what do you do then?
I just take them.
What do you mean just take them?
Well, just, jump in the back. I'll take you to the hospital.
Oh, right. Yeah, but they might be expecting some sort of medical care. That's the thing.
Well, you can't have it all. Listen, I'm not a doctor, but I can give you a lift to the hospital.
Yeah, okay. I'm not a doctor. I am in an ambulance, but what, do you think I'm a fucking doctor? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not a doctor. I just drive in an ambulance. It's totally normal. So apparently in Russia as well, New Year's Eve is a bigger deal than Christmas. So it's a bigger deal. It's more important than Christmas. And in fact, apparently, gifts are exchanged at midnight on New Year's Eve. What do you think about that?
That must be a fucking nightmare at a bar.
That's exactly what I thought. What if you've bought someone a TV and you're in a bar? Yeah. I've just got the TV with me. I'll just give you that for Christmas.
Well, and also normally I don't see people on New Year's. I'm not a big New Year's fan.
You're not a big fan of anything, are you, Dan?
I like Christmas.
But yeah, exchanging gifts, and plus if everyone's shit-faced, remember shit-faced is drunk, it's just going to be a nightmare. People are going to be, you'll get some drunk idiot like me thinking it's a good idea to put it up his jumper and to walk out with it. Probably be a bit more difficult to walk out with a TV up your jumper, but it's worth a try.
So you're stealing gifts?
I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying if I was drunk, I can't be held responsible for my actions, okay? And then apparently as well, they love New Year's so much that there's another New Year's from the 13th to the 14th of January, and the name is Old New Year's.
Really?
Yeah, which, that's a strange name, isn't it? The Old New, that's, doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, so they get to celebrate it again. I don't know if they do presents again.
Yeah, that is pretty mental.
I think it was something of like the calendars, how they work. Obviously,
it's the Gregorian calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, Gregorian. I definitely know what that is.
Is it
Yeah,
Gregorian? I think it's Gregorian.
It's the old Gregorian one. Yeah, Dan, I know what that is. Just like I know that poet. I've already forgotten his name. Pushkin, I think. And another stat that I liked, apparently in Russia, for every 1,000 men, there are 1,159 women. That's a good stat.
Do you know what? I have heard from a lot of people that the women are very good looking in Russia.
What do you mean you've heard? Have you never seen a Russian woman? You're talking like...
No, I've heard. I'm saying I've heard. Rumour has it.
Rumour has it. Okay, yeah.
Are you saying they're not good looking in Russia?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that at all. You're just saying... You're speaking like that they live on another planet.
No, I'm telling you what I've heard. And you're disagreeing.
Oh, I'm saying I know what I've seen, okay? I'm more... multicultural than you. I'm more metropolitan. Okay, I know people from Russia.
How does that make you more metropolitan?
Well, because I've got friends all over the world, Dan. Okay.
So you're saying they're not good looking?
At what point did I say that?
Well, it sounds like you're disagreeing with me.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
I've said I've heard that Russian. I've said I've heard Russian women are particularly good looking, and you're saying, well, I know Russian women. And you're talking shit, so...
No, I said I know, and they are, but also that they don't live on Mars, okay, Dan? Russia's not even that far away. Apparently you can get a cheap flight there, €100.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know the price of the flights. I'm just saying what I've heard.
Okay, I think we should probably move on now, Dan. Yeah. Otherwise we're going to be arguing about this the whole time. Speaking of the women, apparently as well, they always dress to impress, which is a nice term, actually, dress to look good. There was a website where people from other parts of the world talk about people in Russia, and a girl from Poland said that even if someone just goes out of the house for 2 minutes to buy something or to walk the dog, they always look good, which, again, is a positive thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, went to the bakery the other day in my pyjamas because...
I drove round to my mum's once in my dressing gown.
So dressing gown is the thing that you use, I suppose, when you maybe have a bath. It's like a big robe kind of thing. Sometimes you just can't be bothered to put clothes on, can you? Like, I was in my pyjamas. The bakery is about a 5-second walk from where I live. I thought, if I put clothes on, I'm going to put my pyjamas back on when I get home. So I'm just going to go in my pyjamas. But I don't really think it's sort of culturally acceptable here.
You're very, very lucky to have Mrs. RnR English. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. But luckily she wasn't in at the time, because when I told her that I went to the bakery in my pyjamas, she was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She said, everyone must have thought you were crazy. And I said, well, to be fair, I did get a lot of strange looks when I was in there.
Yeah. What time of day was it?
It was about, 10 o'clock in the morning.
At least it wasn't the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, it's fine. So someone else that commented from the US this time, that lives in Russia, about something he finds strange there. He said apparently whistling, so remember whistling is this, is considered really impolite, and basically, like, if you do that, you're really like you're a low class member of society. But the thing I loved most about his comment was, in the US, whistling is an expression of enjoyment. I have no idea why this is so different in Russia. The answer, because you're in another country and you're not in the US.
I don't really like whistling.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I think it's good. But if I go to Russia, I won't whistle. And I won't think, this is so strange. I will simply think, I'm in another country. Things are different.
Yeah, because you whistle sometimes, don't you? It's always kind of annoyed me whenever you have.
Is there anything I do that doesn't annoy you? That's the real question.
Good point. I'll let you know.
Although apparently another thing I found about whistling is that if you whistle in the house, all of your money will then fly out of the window. So maybe I will think twice about whistling next time.
Is that in Russia or is that in general?
I don't know. That's what they believe. I don't know if it happens everywhere. Luckily, I never have any money in my house. So
it's probably because you're whistling all the time.
Yeah, good point. It all makes so much sense now. And then there was another section about Russian people that live abroad, and they talk about things that they miss in Russia. And one person, the one I enjoyed the most, said, the things I like the most are the things that I never ate when I was at home, which apparently are black bread and doctor's sausage. I don't know what these are, but I just find it amusing that she misses the things that she never ate.
Yeah, that is odd. Black bread?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I could just imagine her, I don't know, sitting in Spain, just saying, I just wish I was at home now so then I could not eat black bread because I didn't used to eat that when I was in Russia. Oh, God, how much I miss home.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is odd.
And someone else said the thing that she misses most is her family and friends, which is quite normal, I suppose. I think that's the same for everyone that lives abroad. And she made the point because she moved abroad, so she moved away from Russia after she was 30, and she says it's difficult to make new friends after you're 30. So I thought about you immediately there, Dan. You moved abroad after you were 30, so how do you find it making new friends?
It's not that bad. I went out on the weekend actually with a load of French people, and obviously it was a fucking disaster. Obviously trying to speak French, music was really loud. I can't talk in English to people when the music's loud. So can you imagine what it's like in a different language?
Yeah, so I like how you started that answer with, yeah, no, it's all right, it's not bad, and then you finished with that. Yeah, it seems like everything's going great there, Dan, so keep up the good work.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's the end of our Russian podcast, so I hope everybody enjoyed that, and, I think Russia sounds like a great place.
Yeah, I think we should definitely go.
I'm up for it. Let's make this happen, baby.
Okay.
Thanks for your time, Dan the Man.
Yep. And, I'll speak to you later.
Speak to you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so that was me and Dan the Man speaking about Russia. First thing to say is I hope we did not offend anyone because, as I said, it's a bit dangerous, isn't it, talking about another country, but I hope we've done it well. So let's look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. Dan the Man asked me how long it had been without a review, and I said, I don't know. I've lost track. I can't keep count. I don't know, basically. He also said he went to an open mic night. So an open mic night is just when there's a microphone. Mic, obviously, that makes sense. And it's open. Makes sense as well, doesn't it? In the sense that anyone can say anything they want. And he said the event got hijacked by pirates. When something gets hijacked, it gets kind of illegally taken, let's say. Maybe I want to hijack a bus. I go on the bus and I kick off the driver and I say, this is my bus now, okay? That's hijacking a bus, okay? Don't do it, but that's what it means. We had the word moaning, always have that on this show, don't we? Complaining. And then Dan the Man said that his moaning about England is kind of the same or even more than France. And I said, well, it kind of levels out then. They're both at the same rate kind of thing. It's not increasing or decreasing, it's the same. I also said I'm a bit of a fussy eater. So if you're a fussy eater, you don't eat everything. You say, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We also had the word geezer, which is a very difficult word to describe, but just consider a real man, let's say, who likes drinking beer, watching football, talking about women in a disgusting way. That would be a geezer. We also had a lovely term, lovely jubbly, which is very slang. It's not kind of real English, but very common in the UK. Basically to say, oh, fantastic. Maybe you say to someone, did you post that letter that I asked you to post earlier? Yes, of course I did. Lovely jubbly. Thank you. We had the term, did you get away with it? I think we have this every week, don't we? But that's how common that phrasal verb is. When I stole that book about vodka, which next time I go home to England, I will take a picture of. It's actually a fantastic book. Definitely worth stealing. Then we had the word bouncer, which is like the security of a nightclub. They're never very nice people. Never. Which is a shame. We had the word hardcore, I think, when we were talking about drinking vodka. So if you say someone is hardcore, it's like a real committed member of a group, let's say. In this situation, the group is people that drink vodka, I suppose. You could have hardcore fans, for example. That's a common thing to say. Very committed fans. Then I said, if anyone thinks that I'm just making this up. So when you make something up, you invent a lie or a story, let's say. And we had New Year's Eve is a bigger deal than Christmas. It's more important. We had shit-faced. Had that many times. Very drunk. We had a lovely term, dress to impress. Quite self-explanatory, but a lovely term, a colourful term. And then last but not least, we had the word dressing gown. That's the sort of long towel, let's say, that's like a jacket that you can put on after you get out of the bath or shower. It's up to you. Or you can just wear it around the house sometimes. That's what I do. Anyway, remember, all of this rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com, episode number 153, baby. I will see you all again next time, but in the meantime, there is Corporal Comer's wedding, so keep an eye on Facebook and Instagram for any pictures that I take from the wedding. I will see you all again next week, as I just said, but in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.